Welcome into Behind the Mic in the SEC. This week we'll be covering Missouri. So, Chanel, nice to see you. How are you?
Yeah, nice to meet you. Good morning. I'm great.
So, let's just get started. Tell me, how did you start your career?
Yeah, so I actually went to Penn State. So I was in the Big Ten, and then I am from Maryland. I moved across the country and I moved to Missouri, which was 13 hours away. So it was a big change for me. I actually started doing news. So I was looking for a sports job, but I graduated during COVID. So they were pretty hard to come by. Started in news. I did about a year and a half in news, and then our sports director left. So there was an opening, and I just kind of, expressed interest in it. They gradually moved me over to sports, and I've been doing it for about another year now, and I have about another year here in Missouri at least. So, yeah, that's what's got me to this point so far.
And I think that's something that's really common and overlooked in our business is sometimes sports people do have to start in news. It's just the reality of it. What was that experience like for you? Like, did you enjoy it? Was it not really your thing? How was that for you?
I would never do it again. I'm very grateful for the experience. I started as an MMJ, and we had our weekend anchor had left after 4 months that I had started here. So I quickly became a weekend anchor and producer. Um, I was a senior reporter at one point, and I was only here for a year at that point. We just had so many people leave at one point that it was like all of our new people were all of a sudden not new people anymore, and I was one of those. But it was hard. I wasn't into politics, but of course I had to cover those stories sometimes. It was difficult to adjust. Definitely sports comes more natural to me. So, yeah, it was a challenge at first, but I'm very grateful. It kind of moved me up the ladder quicker and made it easier for me to just gradually have that transition to sports.
And is like sports reporting something that you've always wanted to do, or is it something that kind of snuck up on you?
Yeah, I always say like I had this plan since I was like 7 years old. So my family is definitely a big sports family. I played sports in college. So I grew up watching Steelers football. My family, every game, we would go to maybe one game in person every year. And I just envisioned myself on the sidelines one day, basically.
And what do you enjoy about covering the SEC and covering Mizzou?
My biggest thing was that I never dread it. Like people say you should go to work and you should enjoy the work, and I genuinely do. Not to say that these days aren't long and hard. Some days you're working 7 days a week, some days you're working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, but I'm going to games that I love to watch. Like I'm not paying to go to these games. I'm getting paid to go to the games. Um, Especially basketball season in particular with Mizzou, it was so enjoying. We had so many things that have never happened at Mizzou. They made it the furthest they've ever been in the SEC. And I've really just Columbia, Missouri is a lot like State College, Pennsylvania to me. So it feels like I just kind of went from one college town to another college town, and it's great to just walk around and all you see is black and gold in this town. It's just great to see what people, the excitement that they have for Mizzou sports.
And coming from a Big Ten, another Power Five conference, how is the SEC different from that? And like, what's your perspective on how the SEC is?
Well, from a Big Ten, I'm a little biased. Everybody here is all SEC. But I've been to a Penn State whiteout game, and that's something that people have on their bucket list.
Oh yeah.
I did plenty of them. So it's great though. It's the biggest thing that I have seen is Big Ten, we kind of root against each other. So if an SEC team is playing another Big Ten school, if someone's playing Ohio State, I'm rooting for that SEC school. But in the SEC, I feel like everybody's rooting for everybody. They want to be the best power conference, and they want everybody to win. Even if, Alabama's playing, Mizzou's rooting for them because they want to be known as the best conference in college athletics.
Yeah, that's a thing in like my household growing up. Like we always cheer for the SEC school unless it's Alabama. Then we cheer for the other team. Just because the LSU Alabama rivalry is just crazy.
Yeah.
But what would you say is your favorite sport to cover?
This season has been basketball, and it actually came as a surprise to me. I thought, like I told you from young age, I football is my passion. Football is where I see myself eventually. But basketball really snuck up on me. I think it was because I really got connected. We had a new coach hired, Dennis Gates, and I was kind of making my transition to sports when he got hired. So he was kind of new, I was kind of new. We got to meet each other and connect. And then a lot of new players came in this season. So we only had 3 returning players. A lot of guys came in. I was new also. They were new again. So we were getting to know each other, got connected, and they were just a team that I really, really wanted to win. Obviously, we want all the teams that we win or that we cover to win because it's, nice to cover teams that win. But yeah, I was just really rooting for them. It was just, I got to know the players a lot. It was such a great group. And every time that they won a big game, like I just, came home feeling like I played the game because I was so excited for them.
And what is the fan engagement like for Mizzou fans? I know in LSU country, it's like big, huge. It's a lot going on. Really diehard fans. What's it like at Mizzou as far as the SEC?
Basketball was really when I started to see it. So football was kind of a struggling time. There's a lot of fan excitement at the beginning of the season. Then you start to lose a little bit. The fans diminish. But basketball, it was like every Saturday game was a sellout. And it was crazy. It was just like fans were coming out of the woodworks. The team started to win a little bit, and everyone was so excited about it. It was everyone's dropping all of their plans on Saturday, every Saturday from December till February because Mizzou had a home basketball game. So it's just really special to see that everybody in the community, like even if you're not a Mizzou fan, even if you're just living here, I feel like everyone wants to come out and see these teams succeed. So that's the best part.
And if you had to dream up your very like most perfect job in the world, that's like your dream job, what would that job be?
I've went back and forth with it. So NFL Network, because kind of what when I was 7 years old, that's what I've always wanted. NFL Network has been the place that I see myself going eventually. I love football. I love being on the sidelines. I love analyzing the game of football because I know so much about it. But now that I had this little taste of basketball, I go back and forth. Like, do I want to do something more neutral, like an ESPN, where I would cover every different sport? I think if I was covering a better football team, no diss to Mizzou at all, that I would be a little more excited about football in general. I love the Steelers. I would love to cover the Steelers one day. So yeah, I think still football is my passion, but if I end up a different route, I could definitely see myself covering basketball too. I played softball and volleyball at my branch campus, Penn State. So I could definitely see, I get excited about Mizzou softball a lot. So I could see myself sitting in a booth analyzing that with somebody because I know so much about specifically those 2 sports that I played.
And so I'm getting ready to graduate and I want to do pretty much the same thing you're doing and everyone else that I've talked to. So what's your advice that you might have for someone getting ready to graduate and go into the business?
It might sound a little corny, but just don't give up. It is so hard at first. I don't know where you're going to go, how far away from home you're going to go, but it's difficult, right? Like most of us moved here from the East Coast, West Coast, and now we're in the Midwest just trying to adjust. So really, I've leaned on my coworkers a ton. We are from all different walks of the world, and we somehow ended up in this small town in Columbia, Missouri. And they're the only people that we knew when we got here. So just leaning on them, really like you're gonna wake up some mornings, you're gonna be called in. It's gonna be a long day, a long week. But just in the end, I feel like I always find myself sitting back and reflecting on everything I've done. I always like to clip my videos of like big stories I did, not just for my reel, but kind of for myself, because it's really great to sit back and look at everything you've accomplished in such a small amount of time. And it's only your first station is always the hardest. That's what they always tell me. So I'm hoping that holds true. But I always told myself if I get to these 2 to 3 years at my first market, it's just going to hopefully get easier as I work my way up.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for Behind the Mic in the SEC. I really appreciate it. Next week, we'll talk to Courtney Lane Brewer that covers the University of Kentucky.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.